Hi, I'm Cheryl Osler, CherylOsler.com. And if you've followed me at all, you've probably seen that I haven't really been posting anything on social media, hardly at all. And that's because I have had some things going on in my life, my family's life. And I was talking to some friends this last week and they told me it would probably do me good. And maybe there's other people out there too who are going through the same thing as I am, and I should share. So I'm going to share my story. I'm going to try to do this, at least once a week and let you know what's going on. But right now, I'll start at the beginning. July 29th of last year, my mom, who is 87 and lives with me and I take care of her, she was in her chair and recliner in the living room, and we had a home health nurse here helping change bandages on her legs, and she quit breathing. And they got her on the floor. She and I also had a visiting angels person, young girl who was here helping us, who was really sweet and kind. And they got her on the floor. I called 911 and they started doing CPR on her. And I'm the emotional one in the family. I freak out really easy and I cry a lot. And so I started freaking out, and I'm on the phone with the dispatch 911 operator, and they're telling us to do CPR, which the nurse started doing immediately. And right away I heard my mom's ribs crack. And then they kept going and I thought I heard her breathe. It seemed like it took forever, but it really didn't. For the ambulance and paramedics and firefighters and police, they all came. And it seemed like it took forever for them to get here, but it really didn't. And they took over, and a big police woman dragged me out of the house, took me out on the front porch and wouldn't let me back in. Said I had to stay out when they were working on Mom, which it was terrible. I didn't know if she was alive. I didn't know what was going on. And I got hysterical. In the meantime, the little helper we had, she took my phone from me and started trying to get a hold of my brother, who was actually in a very important deposition and didn't realize how important it was. So he wasn't picking up. My sister-in-law wasn't picking up. Nobody was. In the meantime, I'm trying to find out how Mom is. And like I said, they wouldn't let me back in. And I'm on my knees on our brick porch up against a cement bench we have, praying and asking God to please save her. And every time a paramedic went in or out, I'm asking them to save her. And I was hysterical. And finally, this young girl got a hold of my brother by text, and he took off and he got a hold of my sister-in-law, and they actually lived just about 3 minutes from us. So by the time Lori got here, they had just loaded Mom in the ambulance. They'd had to intubate her, and I got to tell her I loved her and kissed her, and they left. My sister-in-law got here and I was hysterical. I was afraid we were gonna lose her. I didn't know. I'd never been so scared in my whole life. In the meantime, the little girl had been texting other relatives for me, just asking them to pray, because that's all I could do. There was nothing I could do. So they took Mom to a nearby hospital. It's really close to us too. And Lori, I couldn't drive. I was hysterical. And until Lori got here, I didn't know what I was going to do, because the police officer wasn't going to let me drive. And then I find out the little girl who's helping me, she was old enough, but she didn't have a license. She couldn't drive either. So, and the police officer couldn't take me. So I was really glad Lori got here, and we went to the hospital. And because of COVID, we couldn't go in. It was July, so it was hot. They had a tented area set up and fans there. And as we were driving there, my brother called, and I feel so bad. He heard me sobbing in the background, because like I said, I'm a crier. I'm the emotional one, and once I start, I can't stop. And he thought we'd already lost Mom. And he was driving as fast as he could from Irvine. So it was terrible, to say the least. We did what we could, registering her, telling them we were there waiting, and we waited, and we waited, and we waited. And finally, my brother went to try to get somebody to tell us something, and they said they were still working on her, which, okay, that was good, because that meant she was still around. And it was terrible. Finally, they sent a nurse out to talk to us, and he told us that she hadn't needed the CPR. All it did was crack her ribs. It was her breathing, not her heart. Her heart had not stopped. And she had just quit breathing. And come to find out, they were going to run all kinds of tests on her. They were checking everything. We gave them all her medical history. And we waited more. And they finally sent us home. They said there was nothing we could do. We couldn't go in. And they would call us as soon as they knew anything. So we went to Eric's house. I couldn't stand to be alone, and they didn't want to be either. And my nephew was there, and their Labrador Retriever, who sensed I was hysterical and kept following me around and putting his head on my leg, and it was very sweet. But anyway, finally got a call from a doctor who said he was a surgeon. And, you know, everybody had told us this little hospital by us was no good. Don't go there. Don't ever go there. And we had no choice. I mean, this was where we had to take her to save her. And the surgeon told us that something was leaking into her. And they didn't know if she had a tear in her intestines or a tear in her stomach. But something was leaking poison, and it was all in her system. And she needed surgery. And she needed it quickly, because the more it leaked, the worse she got, and the less her chances were. And then we asked, well, what are her chances she'll make it through the surgery? And they said less than 50-50. That's hard to hear. And then he said, and the anesthesiologist doesn't think she'll even make it to the operating table. And we're like, what do we do? But just a few days before, Mom had woken up. For some reason, she woke up scared. And I ran into her room and was sitting next to her in the bed, and she said, don't let me die, Cheryl. Don't let me die. So when Eric and I were given the choice, we knew what we had to do. She has a living trust that says she doesn't want to be kept alive if she's brain dead. But she isn't, and she wasn't. And so we felt like we had to give her the chance that she wanted. So we said, okay, do the surgery. And they did it. She came through it like a champ. I mean, just amazing. And it actually was, she had a 3-inch tear in her stomach that had leaked all this poison into her. They got her all cleaned out. There was no permanent damage to anything. Her stomach, her lungs, nothing. And we were so happy. I mean, so happy she made it through. And they said, of course, the first 24 hours are the most dangerous, and you know, we couldn't celebrate until then. So I spent the night at Eric's house, and they had my cell phone number to contact if anything happened to her. And I knew that I couldn't handle it. So Eric took my cell phone in with him when he went to bed, and made it through the night, no phone calls. Called in the morning, and they said she was stable. And we were so relieved. We still couldn't see her or anything, but at least she made it through. And so she was in that hospital for about, I guess, well, the first 2 weeks at least. And they kept telling me, you know, we need to get her off the ventilator as soon as we can, especially when they're older. That can be the hardest thing, the recovery from the surgery and the ventilator. So we still felt like we were pretty much home free. And turns out we weren't. That they tried to get her off the ventilator exactly 2 weeks from the date that she had the surgery. And she was off of it 36 hours, and then they had to put her back on. She couldn't breathe on her own. She just wasn't strong enough. And they told us, again, there was no damage. It wasn't that. It was just, she's 87 and her lungs needed more strength. And it was just going to take time. So, okay, you know, we wait. And approximately the middle of August, they tell us that they have to take the ventilator out of the tube down her throat because, her mouth, because it's too hard on her. She's uncomfortable, and they get more dependent on it. So, you know, it's funny. Every time something happened, I'm thinking it's the worst thing that could possibly happen, and then something else tops it. So they also told us that they'd had to put in a feeding tube in her stomach because she wasn't going to be able to eat for a while, which I thought was terrible too. So they had to do a tracheotomy, and where they actually slit place in her throat and put the tube for her breathing in her throat and hook it up that way. And that just tore me up. For one, it was another surgery, but not a real serious one. But just the idea of that, it upset me so bad. It terrified me and upset me. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember, there used to be a commercial on TV where this woman was breathing and talking through her throat because she'd smoked, and anyway, my mom had always changed the channel when that came on. She hated that commercial, and it just, for her to have to now have a tracheotomy just sent me over the deep end. And I was afraid it would hurt too, but it really didn't. She came through that like a champ. And I don't know if she actually knew that it had happened, but she was able to breathe more better. She was more comfortable. So it's like, okay. And they assured us that once she could breathe without it, they do a weaning process to get her off of it, and it would just heal, and it looked like a little piercing. It'd be nothing, you know, no big deal. So, okay, so I think at that point, that's the worst thing that can happen, right? And so they put her in another place where they supposedly specialize in getting them off the ventilators. And it was called a short-term acute care, because she still has a couple, they said she has congestive heart failure, but not bad. They said she has AFib, but not bad. They're all controllable. So, and she has edema, but not bad. So this place was only for short term, and they kept Mom for a couple weeks, but then the insurance says she's gotta go. She needs long-term care, and she has to be moved. And I fought with the insurance company. I hate insurance companies. Sorry if anybody out there works for one, but I hate dealing with them. To them, we're a number and a dollar sign, and they didn't care. So they moved Mom, and they put her in this, we're in Whittier. They put her in one that was all Asian, which I have no problem with Asians, but even the food, everything was Asian, and they spoke a different language. And some of them could speak English so I could understand, some didn't. And at the time, you could see somebody through a window is all. And they would open the window and I could see her through the screen. But it was dirty. It had no bars on the side of the bed. I was worried about her falling. I didn't feel like she was getting the care she should. And it was in Garden Grove, which is about 30 minutes from us. So I was trying to find or get her in a better place closer to home, and she got sick. In fact, she got a bladder infection because they weren't cleaning her good, and she also got E. coli on her trach, which means it was dirty. So she ended up in UCI for almost a week, and I hate to say that was wonderful because she was sick, but they got her on antibiotics. She got better. They let me come in to visit her, Eric and I both could switch off and see her. And so I spent as much time as I could with her. And she was actually mouthing words to us and trying to communicate, even though they said with the tube in her throat she probably couldn't. Well, she was whispering words or mouthing them. But then she got frustrated with us because we don't read lips well. Neither Eric or I, we couldn't understand everything she said, so she got frustrated and quit doing it. Because I even asked her later, why are you not doing this? Is it because you're frustrated with us because we can't understand? And yes. So when she was there and they were ready to discharge her, I said, she is not going back to that place. And they agreed. Because of the way she came to them at UCI, they agreed they would not send her back there. It was not clean, it was not safe for her. So they told me that the best place around it all was in Huntington Beach. Now that is 28 miles from us, 40 minutes from my house. But they also are the best one at weaning them off the ventilator, and they're clean and they've got a great reputation, and so we have no choice. And you know, the insurance is pushing us, and of course because of COVID we can't go in and look at the place. You can't get in to see if it's clean. You can't go in and talk to them. You can't do anything. So we agreed, and I followed the ambulance over to it, and even the ambulance people were the attendants were telling me that it was a good place, that they take people there and they have a great reputation and they're clean. And so that made me feel better because they didn't have to say that. I wasn't asking them questions at the time. They volunteered it. And they even said, oh, she's doing great. She should be off the ventilator in no time anyway. So like that was, by then it was the 1st of October. To date, she's still on the ventilator. She's tried. She's done so well at times. They do a weaning process. And I don't think I didn't know anything about how this worked at all. You can't just take somebody off of it because they're not used to breathing on their own. And the ventilator has different settings, and the full ventilator is called AC. I guess they're like air conditioning. I don't know what it stands for. When they start weaning somebody off of it, they turn it to a setting called SIMV. I should have looked up before I came on here to tell you what that stands for, but I didn't. So you can look it up. All I know is it changes how many breaths the machine does and how many mom does. So every time they can decrease the number, it goes down by 2. So full ventilator is 20. So then they just decrease it to 18. And in November, December, she was doing great. She got all the way down to 6, which is the lowest that SIMV goes. And then after that, they go to what they call Cpap mode, which if any of you have sleep apnea, you know what a Cpap machine is. And basically that would be breathing on her own, but it's there for support and help with the exhale. And so she doesn't have too much carbon dioxide staying in her lungs. So at Christmas time, I didn't know how I was going to get through Christmas without her. But we did, because she was down to level 6, and we were thinking, she's going to do this. She's going to do it. She's going to get off of it and come home. And, you know, the whole thing is the ventilator. If I can get her off, or if they can get her off the ventilator, I'll bring her home. I'll put a hospital bed in the living room. She wants to be home, and we need her at home, and I think she'd do better at home. But you have to have a certified respiratory therapist to take care of a ventilator. And I am not one of those, and it's not something that home health would pay for. Insurance again. And so I look at it this way. The other things she has the matter, right now they're under control with medications. And if she came home, the doctor who's treating her there does most of it by iPad anyway, looking at her and talking to her and all. I would keep that same doctor, and I'll deal with whatever I have to deal with. But I can't do the ventilator. So anyway, at Christmas time, she's like almost to that point where she'd be on Cpap, and then Cpap goes I think a week. And if she can manage that on her own, then the next thing is oxygen. And if she can handle that, then they try her without anything. And as far as we're concerned, even if she had to have oxygen for the rest of her life, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. Just get her home. That's all I want. So, like I said, we were thrilled, but she got sick. She caught pneumonia, and we have no idea how. It just happened. And, you know, she can't move much. She's had some bed sores that they're taking care of, and some of them have been quite bad. But right now, they're under control too. She also, and they say this is very common with patients that have the trach and are on the ventilator, that when it happened, she froze like this. It's kind of like a protection of her throat. And her right hand is completely shut in a fist. Now they've worked with her and gotten it to where her right arm is down 90 degrees, and her left arm, it's still at a 90-degree angle, but she can lift it. She can do like this. And she's getting to where now she can lift the right one some. So that's progress. Through the whole thing, she has been alert. She is there. She is my mother. And she knows everything that's going on. She doesn't miss a thing. And I wish she would speak to us or try to communicate more, but she won't. But she will blow kisses. She blows me a kiss when I say I love her. And she has whispered to the nurses some. And when she did get pneumonia and had to go back into the hospital, I again met the ambulance so I could see Mom in person and give her a kiss. And when I did, she had on a mask, of course, and she whispered to me, "Get this off of me," which I said, "I'm sorry, I can't, Mom," because COVID was rampant then. Oh no, she didn't have pneumonia. She needed a blood transfusion. I'm sorry, there's been so much. And so it was the height of the COVID down here. I mean, they were triaging the patients outside. And so they took Mom into emergency, and they couldn't find a bed for her. So my poor mom spent 2 days in emergency room and got her blood transfusion and then went back. And they lost her one of her hearing aids. So that was not good either. And then they tried to start weaning her again after she'd gotten back and felt better, and she couldn't do it. Her oxygenation level dropped tremendously. Your oxygenation level, how well you're using the oxygen your body's getting in, how well you're utilizing it, is supposed to stay above 90. Should be upper 90s, but shouldn't go below 90. At one point, she went down into the 80s, and they were panicking, and they gave her extra oxygen and suctioned the tube and gave her a breathing treatment, and then it went back up. Another time, they were trying to wean her, and she went clear down to 29. They thought they were going to lose her and scared all of us to death. And she fought back, and she's a fighter, my mom, thank God. And so she's, you know, the weaning has just not been happening. Not since how well she was doing at Christmas. So, I keep saying so, sorry. Anyway, last week, for the first time since Christmas, she started making some progress. They lowered her to 18 from the full ventilator at 20, and she handled it fine. And so they have to make sure she can handle it for 48 hours straight without getting off. So she did. She handled it from a Thursday till Monday. And so they moved her to 16. And I didn't even know they'd moved her. And I went to go see her, and I could tell she was she was breathing like she wasn't on it at all. I thought something had happened and she wasn't weaning at all. I mean, it was like calm, normal breathing. She wasn't working at it. And I called for the respiratory therapist, and he said, no, we moved her down to 16. She's doing great. So thrill, right? You know, we're thinking, okay, she can do this. She's still strong. She listens to what you tell her. And we've been totally honest with her about everything. And, you know, I'm thrilled to death. And then past Thursday, I could tell her nose was running. I could tell she didn't feel good. I think it was sneezing. It was hard to tell, but I think it was sneezes. And they took a chest x-ray because I complained a lot, and found that she had the startings of pneumonia in the lower quadrant of her lungs. So I was like, oh no, not when she started to do good again. It was just so disheartening. And when I went to see her yesterday, they were trying to wean her again, and her breathing, her oxygenation rate was down like 93. And I called the respiratory therapist and I said, she's got pneumonia. Take her off. Don't make her work at breathing. She's having a hard enough time. Let's give her days off till she's feeling better, okay? Let's not, even though more than anything in the world, I want her home. I want her off that ventilator and home. I don't want her to suffer. So I had them take her off. And they did, and it went up to 99, you know. So today I go see her, and I have no idea what to expect. I think, realistically, I was thinking they're not going to be weaning her off. She's not, you know, she's still sick. I'm just hoping she feels better. She's been on the antibiotics now 2 days, and I'm thinking, you know, hopefully it's kicked in, and you can tell by my mother's eyes when she doesn't feel good. So I was like, hopefully she feels better. And so I got there, and they tell her I'm coming. I call when I'm 10 minutes away so they can get her bed. Oh, this is what I haven't told you. This whole time, except when she's been in the hospital, the way I have visited her every day is through a window. I cannot go in and see her. Neither can my brother. He goes on the weekends because he works, and on the weekends he goes and sees her through the window. We got her a cell phone, and so she can't use it with her hands like they are, but I call and tell them I'm coming, and they put in her one hearing aid. There's more of the story on that. And they turn her towards the window and kind of make sure she's sitting up and move her TV out of the way. And so when I walk up to the window, she's waiting for me. And you could tell she's looking out the window waiting for me. And I just, it makes you feel so good to see her, you know? Even though her hair isn't done like she always liked it, and it's gotten really long, and it's not blonde, but I don't care. She looks beautiful, and she's looking for me, and that makes me happy. And so then I call the nurse's station again, and I tell them that I'm there, and they come in and they answer the phone for me and put it on speaker and put it on her lap so she can hear me. And I stand outside the window and talk to her for an hour to 2 hours every day. Some days more, some days less. If she falls asleep and I'm freezing out there or something, I stay only like 45 minutes or so. I mean, I'll stand there and watch her sleep for a long time to make sure if she wakes up, I'm still there. But if she's sound asleep, there's no point in me standing there. And so I leave. But it's so hard to leave her. And it's just hard. And the windows aren't real clean. I took Windex and washed the outside of her window, but the inside needs to be done. But, you know, I can't complain. But that's the only way I can see her and talk to her, and she can't talk to me, so I have to stand there and talk. And I repeat myself a lot to her. Most of the time it's repeating how much I love her and how proud I am of her and how good she's doing and that she can do this and how strong she is. And I remind her about our heritage. I've done some of our ancestry, as has her cousin Pat. And or Patricia, and we're related to Davy Crockett and Kit Carson and Alexander the Great. And so I remind her of that blood we have in us and that strength, and that she can do this. And she listens to whatever I say. And I know she does, because if I say to her, Mom, look at me, she'll turn her head and look me right in the eyes. Or I'll say, open that eye so I can see it better. It looks like it's red. Let me see. Or I'll say, I love you, and she'll blow me a kiss. Or I'll blow her one, and then she'll blow me one. And so she knows what's going on, and we're being honest with her, like I said. But it's so heartbreaking to not be able to touch her, not be able to hold her, not be able to kiss her, I don't want to start crying because, like I said, I won't be able to stop. So it's been the worst thing I've ever gone through. Not being able to hold your loved one, to be with them, is cruel. It's just cruel. I went and made sure the minute I could get my COVID shot, I could get it. And I did. I got both of them. And she's had them in there. So it's like, why can't I go in now? I've had both mine. She's had both hers. California, our governor is not letting us. So I know that they need to be careful. I know, especially because those people are on ventilators there, and it's their lungs and their breathing, but I don't have it, and neither does she, but it doesn't matter. So that's gut-wrenching. On the days that I leave her and she's awake, it's worse than the days when she's sleeping. When she's already asleep, I'll just whisper, I love you, Mom. I'm going to go, and I'll see you tomorrow. But when she's awake, I'm backing away from the window, like, as I talk to her, because I feel so terrible leaving her. I feel so bad for her about everything she's going through, and she's so good about it. She does everything they say. She tries so hard. And I know she's trying for us. I know she is. And especially me, because we live together, and she knows I'm a wimp like this. And so she's always been the only one who really understood about how I cry, and I can't control it. And I got to control it right now. So that's part of the heartbreak. It's terrible. And I have no idea when they're going to let me in to see her. So we need to get her home. And I just keep praying and asking everybody I know to pray that she can get off this ventilator. And she's taking steps, so that's good. Even being sick today, still having pneumonia and still having getting the IV with the antibiotic in it, she still was like perfect weaning off of it. So I'm hoping that she'll stay on at 48 hours, and then we can take her down another level to 14 without any problems. Sometimes you feel like it's a race, like we need to hurry and get her weaned before something else happens. But you can't. You can't push it. So the other things that have worn on me, that, to be honest, I feel exhausted. And it's not like I do anything. I tell myself, I don't do anything. I'm suffering from depression pretty bad. I had kind of a breakdown, and I'm seeing a therapist who has helped me a lot. And she helped me, and actually my brother and sister-in-law have helped me a lot to think about that instead of going there and feeling so bad for Mom, to think of it as every minute I have with her is a blessing. And it is. And I think of it that way, but then I feel so guilty when I leave, it's, and the people there tell me there's nobody else that comes every day. Nobody for their family. But I have to. She's my mom. She raised me. She took care of me. And she'd do anything for me, so I have to. That's just something I have to do. So I have a hard time getting up in the morning. I don't want to wake up because then I have to start thinking. And then I realize she's not here, and it's really hard. Then I get around, get dressed, eat something, and drive the 40-minute to 45-minute drive to go see her. I call them when I'm 10 minutes out, like I said, so they can get her ready. And so she's waiting for me. Stay there from an hour to 2 hours. Christmas Eve, I stayed there till about 8:30 that night, 7:30, 8:30, I think. I took a chair and a lantern because it was dark, and I sang Christmas carols to her, and I just was with her. And so I stay there, and weekdays, Monday through Friday, there's a lady there who has an iPad and does FaceTime for us. And our time is 3 o'clock every day. And Eric gets to see her first because Eric doesn't get to go be with her like I can. He's at work. So every day at 3, he does FaceTime with her as long as the lady's there, which sometimes she isn't, and as long as mom's awake, which sometimes she's not. But at least Eric gets to see her every day that way. And so when I'm with mom, I have to watch the clock to make sure I leave myself time to get home and fight the traffic and get home in time to see her on FaceTime, because then I can get a closer look at her face and how she's doing. So, and then after that, I'm like depressed again. I'll try to do laundry or go to a market or something. I'm not eating right. I'm eating too much junk food. I've cooked some for myself, but I don't like anything anymore. I don't want to eat. I eat maybe half of a lean cuisine for dinner. I don't care about eating, except for my sweets, which I still want dessert every night, which I wish I could get over that. I want something chocolate in the evening, but anyway. So the other battles I've fought, I mentioned her hearing aids. So when they took her down to the little hospital down the street, the first part of December, they picked her up from the home, and I got there and they were loading mom into the ambulance, and I saw she still had in both hearing aids. So they took her in, and I told the attendants, the ambulance attendants, because they wouldn't let me any closer, to tell them that she had both hearing aids in. Because we got her the best that Miracle Ear makes. We spend a lot of money on them, and they connect to her cell phone, they connect to her TV. They're the best that we can get for her. And so, they taking her in, and I tell them she has 2 hearing aids in. Okay. So then I get a call from the home saying, oh my gosh, we didn't take the hearing aids out. I said, I know, I've already told them. And they said, well, we know that she has both of them in. I said, yeah, me too. And so then I go to the front desk to check her in, and I tell the admitting person, please tell them she has in 2 hearing aids. And he called back there, verified, yep, they checked, she has both hearing aids in. Great. So they tell me to leave for a couple hours. They won't know anything for a couple hours, and for me to call in a couple hours, and they'll give me an update on if they're going to admit her or what. And so I called, and I said, and I talked to the emergency room, and I said, by the way, and her nurse was Tyler. I said, by the way, Tyler, she has in 2 hearing aids. And he says, well, let me go check. He comes back on the phone. Yep, she's got a right and a left one in. I said, yep, she does. So that night, they tell me about 11 o'clock, they moved her up to a room on the 4th floor. We're admitting her for that time. And I said, well, she has in 2 hearing aids. No, she only has in the left one. I said, no, she went there with 2. Well, all there is a left one now when she got to the 4th floor. So, and I had that nurse's name. So I put the hospital on notice that you lost it. You have to find it. And they admitted they lost it, but it took forever to get them to do something. And granted, I mean, this was, like I said, at the height of the COVID, they were going crazy. I don't blame them. I really don't. But it took me threatening social media. It took me threatening to go on here and say, I'm going to advertise who you are and what happened and everything, for them to call Miracle Ear, give them a credit card, and pay for a replacement, and which is $3,750. And we're having to pay now for part of mom's care. I don't have the money to just pay for an extra hearing aid. So last Friday, yeah, last Friday, not yesterday, pardon me, but a week ago, I got her a new hearing aid. I had to take the one she had remaining, and they could pair them together, match them up. And so that was great. And he also put the app on my phone and paired it to my iPhone to where I could tell if her hearing aids needed the batteries changed, so I could keep up on that and tell the nurses to do that. So fine, you know, that's great. And I took it there Friday afternoon when I went, and they put both hearing aids in, and the nurses were talking about, oh, great, she has 2 now. And I took them in one container, plastic container that had her name and room number on the top of it. And I wrote in Sharpie underneath that, the red dot means for right ear, the blue dot means for left ear. So they have that. And they put them in. Fine. And from my understanding is every night about 9 o'clock, they go in and get them ready for bed, and they take out the hearing aid. So they took them out Friday night. Saturday when I got there, I said, we need her hearing aid. She has 2 now. Oh yeah, we just found, why do we have 2? Oh, that's great. You know, they got used to, because it took so long, it took 3 months to get the one replaced, to get them pay for it, that the people didn't realize, you know, were so surprised she had 2 now, weren't used to her having both hearing aids. So they put them in Saturday when I visited with her. It was great. She could hear better and everything. And then I go Sunday, we can't find the other hearing aid. What do you mean you can't find it? I just brought it. Well, it has to be here somewhere. We'll have to talk to the person who works on Saturday nights and find out. It's like, really? A day and a half and you've lost it? I mean, supposedly they put them back in the container every night at 9 o'clock and they get locked up. Where would it go? And Mom can't, she can't reach them. So they've done something. And they've put me off all week, said, you know, let us talk to the person who works Saturday night. Nobody seemed to have her phone number. I don't know. So when I finish filming this, that's what I'm going to go do, is call and talk to the person working tonight. But anyway, so that's another ordeal. And they know that they will have to replace it if they don't find it. And at this point, I don't see how they're going to find it. If it fell out, or it fell in the sheets or whatever, and they put it through the laundry, even if I don't think they'd find it. I think it'd go down the drain, but even if they found it, it'd be ruined. So I'm going to have to fight that battle. Then about 2 weeks ago, on a Sunday, Eric had gone and seen Mom in the morning, and he was going before church and I was going after. And so he'd call, we call each other in the car and give each other a report on how she's doing and everything. And so I was just getting ready to go, and then they call me, and every time they call me, my heart skips a beat, you know, you think something's the matter. They told me that they have to quarantine a new patient, and Mom was in a room all by herself. And they said, we have to quarantine any new patients for 14 days. So we need to move your mom. And I said, okay, where are you moving her? To a middle bed. I said, no. The deal was, because she has sores and she can't be moved that easily, that she would have a window. Well, we can't help it. We'd have to move other people around, and we're not going to do that on Sunday. And I was livid. And I called Eric and I said, will you do something? And he called, and she said, I promise you, it's only for 2 weeks. It's like, 2 weeks is a lot when Mom and I go every day. And I told them, look, inconvenience somebody who doesn't go see their family, or they don't have family come there. I can tell you what rooms, because I'm there every day at all different times, and I see where nobody ever comes to some of these people. So don't give me that. And they were like, well, you know, you can talk to her. We'll hook up the phone. And poor Mom, I tried. I still went every day, but she couldn't see me. She's looking at the phone trying to see where I am. And I'm trying to tell her, she couldn't see me. And the lady in the window bed is out of it. She didn't even know, she doesn't know, I shouldn't say that, but anyway, she sleeps all the time, let's put it that way. And so it's like, this is not right. And Mom needs the encouragement. And to be honest, because of how I need to see her. So I kept trying. I called her case manager, And she said, well, I'll see what I can do. I'll tell them. And even the head of the respiratory department said, it is important. Cheryl comes every day. They all know I'm there every day, even in the rain. I bought plastic rain boots. I take my raincoat and it has a hood on it and I go. And there's a ledge that I stand under. So I'm there. Rain, sleet, snow. Oh, no, not in Southern California, but I'm there. And because I need to see her for myself. So the case manager says, well, I'll bring it up at our meeting tomorrow morning. And like I say, even the head of the respiratory department said, no, my mom needs the encouragement. She needs to see me. So, nothing. And I said, finally, I used social media again. And I said, you know, my brother's a lawyer, but that doesn't seem to upset anybody. And I said, but I also do a lot on social media and I have about 26,000 followers. And I posted on one of the platforms that this was happening and I was upset about it. And people were saying, go to the state, and I told them, I don't want to rock any boats. I've tried to be nice to everybody there. I've learned people's names. I've tried, and I really just want to get along with everybody so mom gets the best care, but I need her moved back to a window. Well, let us see what we can do. I said, okay. So that was the day I was driving from Huntington Beach to Pomona Fairplex to get my second COVID shot. And I get a phone call from the administrator of the place, who is very nice, said he was just hearing about this. And he says, I'm not going to give you a runaround. And I'm not going to tell you it was handled right, that they had no choice. They did not handle it right. It should have been handled differently. And I'm sorry. And I will work on getting her moved. He says, there's other families, you're right, that don't see their loved one or only see them once every 2 weeks or something. And he said, so I would see what I could do. And I just said, thank you. Thank you for reaching out. Thank you. And he says, oh, everybody here speaks highly of you. We know you come visit her every day. We know how close you are. So he said, you know, we understand. So, okay, fine. Well, the next day I went to go visit mom in the middle bed, and I'm talking to her, and a lady comes in and says to mom, Mrs. Francisconi, I'm just letting you know we're moving you. And I'm on the phone. I said, excuse me? And the gal looked around. I said, I'm over here at the window, you know, over across the room in the window. And I said, I'm her daughter. Oh yeah, we're moving her back to where she was. It's like, thank you. So I waited and I went around to the room she'd been in before at the window, and they moved her over, and it's so much better. So it just seems like there's a battle all the time that has to be fought one way or another, whether it's insurance or other people or what. And, you know, this place is good. My brother wasn't thrilled with me that I kind of threatened him with social media because we don't have another place that's as good to put her, but it worked. So, and then my sister Gina came up with an idea. I said I was going to send a thank you card, but that just doesn't seem like enough. She said, why don't you order pizza for him? So on the next day, on the Friday, I ordered pizzas for all of the staff there and had them delivered. So I'm trying, you know, I want them to take the best care of my mom that I can have them do. But yet I'm watching, I'm there every day. So anyway, I guess that's where we stand right now. I'm hoping that maybe doing this will help me through it. And also I'm hoping it'll help other people who are in the same situation where you can't be with your loved ones and how terrible this is. And maybe we can share, I don't know. I just know that it's the worst thing I've ever gone through. And I miss my mom so bad, so badly. And I'm not gonna let myself start crying. But I mean, she and I have fought. You know, you get two women living together, it's gonna happen. We have fought, but doesn't matter. I love her so much and I want her home. I want her breathing on her own and to come home and to be in this house that she loved with me. And if you're the praying type of person, I ask for your prayers for her, that she can do this time. So thank you so much for watching. If you've lasted this long, I'm sorry. The next ones won't be this long, but I wanted to give you the whole backstory and bring you up to date. And hopefully the next time I talk to you, it'll be good news and she's making more progress. So thank you very much for watching. And, you know, love to everybody out there who's suffering through this. We've all suffered through a lot with the COVID and in different ways. We've lost people, or we've been separated like this, or just our whole lives have changed. And I'm sorry. I really am. And I don't know what our new normal will be, and I don't know when it will be. But I pray that we all get through this and come through it better than we were before. So thanks so much. Have a good rest of your weekend. Enjoy your Sunday, and blessings to y'all. Bye.